let's get started. I'll do a quick introduction of Dr. Nagendra. Most of you guys probably already know me. My name is Jitendra. I am the founder and CEO of My Yoga Teacher, and it's my great honor and privilege to introduce Dr. H.R. Nagendra. He's a treasure of India. Started off as a mechanical engineer. He worked in NASA. So he worked in the US. He's very familiar with the ways of the US, which is really exciting. He is after that, he's the founder and chancellor of S. Vyasa University, which is one of the premier, topmost yoga institute in the world. He was the former advisor to Prime Minister of India, Dr. Narendra Modi. And he's really well known in the field of yoga research, which is what S. Vyasa is known for, yoga therapy, and just kind of like deploying yoga to solve a lot of the health challenges that we have. He was awarded Padma Shri, which is a pretty rare award in India. And so really privileged to have him as part of this session and leading the session.
Namaskar, my dear brothers and sisters. Thank you all for this wonderful plan of dear Manish for having a sharing of thoughts on yoga, a holistic approach towards life. All of you are aware that our Honorable Prime Minister brought the whole essence of the holistic vision of yoga to the people at large in UNO, which resulted in International Day of Yoga, June 21st. He made it clear in his talk also that yoga is not merely physical exercise, it is not merely yogasanas, but it is the science of holistic living, a way of life by which we are raised from our normal level to become great human beings, super divine human beings, and reach that state of perfection itself, which is called as Kaivalya by Patanjali, Moksha in Vedanta, and in science terminology, we can say it is reality. That's a state of infinite power, infinite freedom, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. And Swami Vivekananda emphasized the goal of life is to manifest that divinity within us. In his famous proclamation, each soul is potentially divine. We all have that immense power, immense knowledge and freedom and bliss, and we have forgotten it. So the goal of life is to manifest the divinity. We should bring all this into our life. How to do that? He said, by controlling nature inside and controlling nature external. Internal is our mana buddhi chitta hankara, our chitta, as Patanjali calls the mind, which has been brought under total control. And its manifestation outside in the form of our behavior, how we are in tune with the surrounding, how you work for the society, for the country, for the whole world, for bringing peace on earth, and sharing our wisdom ways, contributing more and more to the society. This has to be done. So how is it possible? What to do? We have to have a transformation process. For that, he gave the 4 streams of yoga: Gnana Yoga, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. Gnana Yoga is the path of intellect. You have to use the intellect, the logical faculty, discrimination faculty, to transcend the intellect, go to our original state. That's the whole of Vedanta. In Vedanta, you have Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Jnana. So in Shravana, you go on hearing. You can watch a video, you can hear a talk, you can study the books, and the whole knowledge base is all available to us in the form of Prasthanatraya. That is the Shruti Prasthana, Smriti Prasthana, Nyaya Prasthana. Shruti Prasthana is the series of Upanishads. Then the essence of the Upanishad brought forth in the editable, simple form by the Smriti Prasthana, the Bhagavad Gita, and many other Smritis. Then to build a logical framework, we have got the Brahma Sutras, Nyaya Prasthana. These are the three oceans of knowledge that we have. And you get exposed to that. And then you have the Manana. Manana is cogitating about it, thinking about it, questioning about it, trying to understand deeper and deeper dimension. Then you are the Nididhyasana, staying in that continuous awareness of the ultimate reality, the Gnana Sthiti. And then you have the stabilization called the Jivan Mukti. That in Bhagavad Gita is called the Sthita Prajna. And Arjuna asked the questions, Sri Krishna, what is that state called as Sthita Prajna, in whom the Prajna has stabilized? So Krishna Bhagavan says in the second chapter, one simple shloka, he summarizes the whole. Arjuna asking, how does he live? What does he do? How does he transact and everything? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. Yada sarvan kaman saha prajahati. So a person is able to completely overcome all his desires. He is able to go beyond all thoughts. He is able to stay in that complete blissful awareness with no thoughts in it. That is the first condition, he says. How long? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we start doing that. But as we go deeper and deeper, any length of time, stay for the whole day, for 1 week, for 2 weeks, for months and years, as long as you want. Great Ramana Maharshi was able to stay there for months and years together. And that is one aspect. In that phase, there are people who are mentally retarded, the slow learners. They also can stay in that no thought condition in a sense. Is it that we are getting mentally retarded? Are we driving ourselves into this thing? Atmaneva atmana tushtaha. Is beyond all the state of unconsciousness, the mental retardation is a state of full of happiness, blissful awareness. And these are the two conditions he put. Can you be happy all the time? And that is the dimension that is talked about. Then the highest stages of Jnana Yoga, in which you fathom the higher laws of the whole creation. In Taittiriya Upanishad, we said that we have got the Annamaya Kosha, the gross body. Then we have Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. Over 400 years in modern science, we have been able to fathom the entire physical world. Today we know what every object is made of. Molecules made of atoms, protons, neutrons, fundamental particles. And they're all made of quarks, packets of energy. Therefore, everything in the physical world is nothing but energy. You can calculate precisely how much of energy is in given matter, E equals mc squared. Then we also understood the laws that govern them. Newton's laws of motion, 3 laws that you all have studied. That is called deterministic approach, classical mechanics. But when you go to extremely high speed, like an electron swirling around the nucleus with velocities equivalent to light, then the Newtonian mechanics will not hold. You have to go to the higher laws. They're called quantum mechanics, theory of relativity, and so on. So in a sense, we have understood everything about the physical world. Therefore, anything physical, we have been a big success. Putting man on the moon, building skyscrapers, underwater tunnels, information technology, and varieties of surgery, 5,000 types of surgery. We can replace almost every part of the body. And we are even racing further to change our genes so that our entire personality can be changed. And very powerful pharmacological interventions. Everything we have done. But science is in a turning point to go beyond the physical, said Fritz of Capra in his famous book called Turning Point. Don't think that you have reached the end of the game, he said. We have only understood the physical world. Still, we don't know what is called as prana. We do not know whether mind can exist without the body and the brain. What is the difference between the mind and the emotions and the intellect? And much less about the consciousness. And it is this region of subtlety and causality we have to go. From the Sthula Sharira, we have to go to Sukma Sharira, the Karana Sharira, and we have to go beyond all these things. That's our original state. So that is the knowledge base that the Jnana Yoga offers. The whole knowledge has been brought forth, and that has to be actualized and brought into action. So you have to go beyond the intellect. Use the intellect to go beyond the intellect to our Atma Sthiti, Brahmahi Sthiti. Similarly, Jnana Yoga also talks about the Vyashti and the Samashti, individual and the cosmos. In the physical world, we have the entire physical world made of the electromagnetic field energy. And beyond that, we have the bioplasmic field, pranamaya. Then we have the astral field of the mind field. Then we have the information field of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And the bliss field, the Anandamaya. And all these fields, one pervasive than the other, are in continual interaction. That's why it's called Jagat. Jagatyan Jagat. That which goes on changing is called Jagat. That's the feature of this world, the creation. In our body, every day billion cells get created, a billion cells get destroyed. Since we came to this webinar, already all our bodies have changed. And what to talk about the prana, the mind, emotions, everything changing. So that which is beyond any change is our original state. That is beyond space, time, causation. It is beyond mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. And that is called Atman. At the samashti level, it is called the Brahman. And there is the aikyata between the Atman and the Brahman. So this is the whole essence of the Jnana Yoga. So Shavana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Jnana, and stabilization of the Jnana, and the higher states of consciousness, fathoming the higher laws, and completely, ultimately merging with the totality. And that is the whole approach of Jnana Yoga. In Patanjali Yoga, which is called as Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, it is the process to gain mastery over the mind. He said the whole creation, called as Prakriti, nature, is made out of Chitta. Chitta is the mind stuff. And the Chitta has two components. One is the Vyakta, another is the Avyakta. Vyakta is the Jagrat world, the Swapna world, and these things. Pramana, Vipareya, Vikalpa. Pramana is the right knowledge, Vipareya is the wrong knowledge, and Vikalpa is the blabbery, is the random mind. Then we have the Nidra and the Smriti. Nidra, the deep sleep, without dreams. Dreams comes already in the Vyakta phase, because already you have the duality. Dvandva is going on. But in deep sleep, you have gone into unconscious. There you don't think that the whole mind has vanished. They have only gone into the seed form. Therefore, Patanjali's great contribution to say that Sushupti is also the mind stuff. Abhava pratyaya alambana vrittihi nidra, he defined. It's an abhava pratyaya. It's also a pratyaya. It's also the mind. And modern polysomnography has shown us that when you are in the deep sleep, the brain is working and there is the delta waves that are going on, giving deep rest to the whole system. It's a process of rejuvenation. Good. Then we have the whole memory store, all our samskaras. That is the Sanchita karma and the Prarabdha karma, everything hidden there. And it's all this muck that we have accumulated for lives and lives, and that all had to be purified continuously. And how to do these things? Purification, everything, gain mastery over the chitta. Yogaha, chitta vritti nirodha, as I said. In this mastery, there are two dimensions. One is to learn how to make our mind faster mind, quicker mind, brilliant mind, sharper mind, creative mind, faster, 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 faster. Another is to calm down the mind, mana prashamana, calm mind, silence mind, deeper silence, and go into divinity. Unfortunately, whole our education system, we had developed only the first. We have never bothered about the second. So as a result, we have gone into big imbalance. And this big imbalance at the mind level is called adhi, stress in the subtle form. That comes down to the pranamaya kosha, brings the imbalance in the pranamaya kosha in the form of imbalances in all the pranas which are flowing through the pranamaya kosha. And they show up as breathing imbalances and digestive imbalances, and particularly in the brain. It shows an imbalance between the left and the right lobe, and it goes on. And this imbalance shows up as stress reaction, an autonomic imbalance and endocrine imbalance. And the stress has become the biggest challenge today, the world over, and has caused all the challenges that we see in the modern world, in spite of the tremendous achievements that we have science and technology. Non-communicable diseases, asthma, diabetes, hypertension, heart problem, epilepsy, migraine, irritable bowel syndrome, cancer, and AIDS, whatnot. They all have no solution. Once a diabetic, ever a diabetic. Once you have cancer, your days are numbered, have come to pass. Because they're all multidimensional challenges. And it's only that can give you solution. So Patanjali says you have to bring that balance. The calming down of the mind has to be harnessed today. And that is the whole essence. So he gives these dimensions through the Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, the Bahiranga Yoga. Then we have the Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Samadhi, the culmination of Ashtanga Yoga, in which you go into the higher level of consciousness. What in Gnana Yoga said of the Gnana, it is the Samadhi. Then you have to stabilize the Samadhi, and you have to go to the deeper and deeper levels of Samadhi. So many people think Samadhi is the end of the game. No, Samadhi is the real opening of doors. Getting the glimpse of Dana in Gnana Yoga is the entry, it is the opening of doors. No? Then Patanjali says that you learn the art of Sayama, Trayam Ekatra Sayamaha. Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi put together is called the Sayama. And through this Sayama, you have the transformation of the whole personality. Not only the mind, but our mind, emotions, intellect, everything, including the body, transformation occurs. And you move from one level of Samadhi to the higher and higher levels of Samadhi. 8 types of Samadhi he talks about. Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Smita, Anugama, Sampragnataha, Tadanyaha, Asampragnataha. So as you move to the higher and higher levels of Samadhi, the transformations start taking place. You have the higher Gnana, the higher power, higher freedom, higher bliss. All these things start coming up more and more, more and more. And each time it jumps from one level to the next level. In the physical world, this jump takes place in the form of quantum jump. For example, you know that electrons are swirling around the nucleus, and you supply certain amount of energy, then it jumps into the next orbit. And the amount of energy that is can be calculated, h nu. So similarly, when you stay in that state of dhyana for longer and longer time, then it accumulates the energy dimension and jumps into the higher level of consciousness, higher layer of the mind, from the gross to the subtle. And this is how you move from Annamaya to Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya, Kosha. And in the process, there are a large number of challenges that you get. They're called antarayas. Yadis, jnana, samshaya, alasya, pramada, all these antarayas. And that is causing shwasa prachwasa, that is breathing imbalance has come. And how to overcome these challenges that you encounter in the process of growth and challenge. Beautifully, this has been described by Patanjali, and you go deeper and deeper into that. And ultimate goal is Kaivalya, equivalent to the moksha, that is you have to overcome even all the Ashtasiddhis that you get in the highest level of Asmitanuguta Sampragnata Sampragnat Samadhi. And when you are able to do this, then the stage happens when you are totally free from all desires. And you have the Parama Vairagya, the Vairagya of the highest order. And then you reach that Kaivalya dimension. That's the whole process of Raja Yoga that has been brought out so beautifully in 196 Sutra, in the 4 Pada, Samadhi Pada, Sadhana Pada, Vibhuti Pada, and Kaivalya Pada. Then comes the Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is to gain mastery over the emotions. It is the science of emotion culture. And here Krishna says, first you have to recognize the 2 main qualities with which we are all made. What are the 2? Asuri Sampat and Daivi Sampat. Asuri Sampat is the demonic vices, anger, greed, jealousy, hatred, infatuation, cut others, beat others, terrorize others, selfishness. This all from the Asuri Guna, demonic vices I call. And we have the Daivi Sampat, full of joy, bliss, helping others, serving others, working for the society, and magnanimity, and calmness of the mind, and the growth. We are all endowed with the strength and weaknesses. Any management system talks about the SWOT analysis, strength and weakness of analysis. So you have to find out how much is our strength, how much is our weakness. And the weakness has to be reduced. So you start developing the positive virtues. So the first thing to develop is concentrate on developing the virtues day by day, day by day, day by day. And automatically the negativities start coming down. And consciously also you can make effort to reduce them. And in the process, you start moving from the kama to prema. Normally, we all become friends and some common likes and common dislikes. One person likes, you like Carnatic music, he also like Carnatic music, they become friends. You like Gulab Jamun, he also like Gulab Jamun, you become Gulab Jamun friends. And you also become friends on common dislike. You hate somebody else and he also hates that person, so you become friends. An interesting thing happened. I was traveling from Kanyakumari to Delhi long ago. And in our train, we were all sitting. One person was in our chambers and he went on criticizing Indira Gandhi. Everybody was silent. But some person was walking across the chambers. He came and sat, and both of them went on criticizing the whole 40 hours. They become such close friends. So at this level of friendship, always there is expectation of a return. And you are a friend, therefore you give something, and you expect that he also will give you another party for you. If this doesn't happen, our thing breaks up. From here, the gross, that is the Asuri Sampat, which almost leads everything to greed and others. You have to go to the next Prema Bhava. In Prema, go on giving and giving and giving without expecting any return. Every mother knows the Vatsalya Bhava, Prema Bhava, how she goes on contributing to the child. This is what we have to develop. Therefore, all the students in our university and schools, everywhere we said we have to develop this Prema Bhava. Every day develop a habit of giving something. What can you give? You can give money, you can give food, you can give clothing, anything. If nothing is there, Krishna Bhagavan says, Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam, Yomaya Bhaktya Prayachati. Go on giving even a leaf, a flower, a cup of water. And this is the dimension that is coming up. This is the dimension that had been talked about. So from there, you go to the next step called Bhakti. You may be giving, you may be a philanthropic donor, but you may gradually get into the ego. Oh, I'm such a great philanthropic giver, Then that will again bring you down, because ego is also the Asuri Sampat. So you have to come down that ego. That is the process of surrender. Surrender is the process of giving up the ego. Very difficult. Why? You think that ego is the one that builds our individual character. If I give up, what is going to happen? Yes. Therefore, we don't want to surrender. But as Swami Vivekananda said, surrender is the process of expansion. By giving up, you rise from where you are to become great human beings, super divine human beings. Therefore, that forms the key essence of bhakti. And surrender to whom? any god or goddess that you like. There are a large number of gods and goddesses in our thing. Depending on what you want to achieve in your life, you can surrender. You want to be very rich, Lakshmi is your Aradhya Devata. Wise and wisdom based and become number one intellectual thing, Saraswati. Physically, you become very strong, Hanuman. Ideal human being, Sri Rama. A perfect human being, Krishna Bhagavan. Choose any one of the gods or goddesses. But there are people who say that I don't believe in a god or goddess. Doesn't matter. Choose your role model, your father, your mother, your friend, your engineer, your Einstein, a scientist, anybody whom you like. As Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Sharadama, Trinity, the role models. You can choose any one of them. Then you have to surrender. And the process of surrender is the process of tuning. And how to surrender? Go on repeating the name, like Hanuman used to do for Sri Rama. Ram, 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 all 24 hours he was immersed in that. And he was not talking loudly, the Vachika Japa and the Manasika Japa. And it was not only limited to the head, the whole body was reverberate. Rom me Ram Nam Horahata. All of you have heard. That is the thing that happened. Then it will lead you into the Sakshatkara. The bhakti culminates in Sakshatkara, equivalent to the Samadhi, equivalent to the Gnana here. So they continue connection. Then from there you go to the higher and higher levels of the bhakti, from the Saguna Sakshatkara to Nirguna Sakshatkara, and from there you go to the pure awareness and merge with the totality. So this is a dimension of Bhakti Yoga, the science to gain mastery over our emotions. It's most necessary in our education system and everywhere. Finally, all this had to come to our action, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is something special. You have to convert every action that we do into a yoga. How is it possible? Normally, I think yoga means doing samasana, pranayama, mudras, bandhas, kriyas, meditation, and so on. Now, here it said, every action should become yoga. How is it? Is it ever possible? Walking, eating, drinking, urinating, excreting, everything can be yoga? Krishna says yes in the Karma Yoga. So what is the secret? That secret is the one that forms you to convert every action into a yoga. And that is the whole trick that he gives. That Krishna Bhagavan says, your life is not just in action, action, action. But there is a stage of non-action. The non-action, we spend almost 50% of our time in our life. Hey, how is it possible? Already I'm very busy for 12 hours, 16 hours. How can you say that I can have non-action? 50% you are saying. What about sleep, sir? In the night, if you look at from your childhood to the end of life, probably 50% you sleep, non-action. You're not acting there. You're in the avyakta phase. So this is the one that the rejuvenation character. If you don't have a good sleep, you know how miserable will be the day next day. Therefore, you have to first recognize this non-action in action. Karmano havi bodhavyam, bodhavyancha vikarmana. Akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gati. You must know what is good action, you must know what is bad action. That will not suffice. When you enter into a large number of conflicts, as it happened to Arjuna, he came to the war field and he wanted to fight and win. But when he saw his own Kulaguru, Krupacharya, his own teacher, Dronacharya, and the greatest role model, Bhishmacharya, whom he used to worship, he said, no, I cannot wage against them. I cannot inflict pain on them. How can I do that? So he tells and cries to Krishna, Katham Bhishmamaham Sankhe Dronancha Varasodana Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami Pujarha Varisodana. Says, how can I inflict pain on such people who are worth of worship? No, not possible, not possible. I can't do that. And a big conflict in his mind. Duty sense is better, or ethics, morality, renunciation, service is better. Which is better? Conflict between duty and ethics. Similarly, ethics and ethics. And the duty versus duty and concept, why that duty? Why this ethic? Questioning the very base of ethics and morality. Questioning the very base of duty. When such conflict arises, the whole person gets completely lost. That's what happened to Arjuna. He could not stand even in the chariot. And his Gandiva he could not hold. Gandivam Santrate Hastat Tvaktaiva Paridakyate. The whole body started trembling. And the result, at the end of the first chapter, he says, Ratopasta Upavishat. He just sat down in the chariot. That's what's going to happen when you enter such conflict. And there's no solution, any text in the world except the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and the texts which are so sacred. So Karma Yoga says this: you have to recognize this akarma in life and give prominence to akarma, give relaxation every day. You all generate maybe 100 units of stress through the action, because the nature of action is to produce stress, fatigue. So you have to reduce that 100 units of stress. If you reduce only 80, and 20 will all accumulate. One day it's going to hit you, maybe a stroke, maybe hypertension, whatnot. No? So every day you must release all the 100 units. If you can reduce more than 100 units, then you'll start becoming younger day by day, full of energy, vitality. So these are the dimension of Karma Yoga. So recognition of the non-action as a rejuvenation process, as a charging process of the battery, and see that it becomes better and better. Then what to do? You have to bring that akarma into action. Every action you do, always you have in that akarma. Yogastaha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya, it said. Attune to that self, do all activities. So inner layer of the mind, subtler layer of the mind, go on staying in these things and do all the activities outside. As if there are two compartments of the mind, the outer and the inner, the sthula and the sukshma. And we all are familiar with that. When you are hearing, maybe something deep within you is bugging you. Maybe your father, mother, or somebody, friend, they had the corona, they're in the hospital, what is going to happen to him, whether he is going to survive or not, all these things may be bugging inside you. So we are all familiar with that inner subtler layer of the mind. So Krishna says that is the one that you have to keep all the time in that silence, in that blissful awareness, in that yogastha sthiti, and do any action. That is the secret that he gives. And that is the secret he gives. Yogastaha kuru karmani, karmani akarmaya pashyet. Then he says, that so-called silence, don't think it is the final. That is not the infinite moksha. That's not the ultimate reality. Because there are a large number of samskaras that are hidden in the sanchita karma and prarabdha karma, that all had to be cleansed. So in the so-called silence, you must recognize those aspects which are again in the form of subtle karma. Akarmani karmahya pashyet, he says. And the Madhyakarika, sakashayam vijaniyat. Recognize those deep-rooted stresses, blocks, obsessions, phobias, all hidden inside. The three gunas which are hidden inside in the form of the sanchita karma and the prarabdha karma. We have to cleanse that. Once you start cleansing by the process of the yoga, then they all start coming up. You have a very dirty vessel, you put the vim, all the dirt is going to come out. And therefore, you may end up with various types of stress release that takes place inside. As a result, some of the people have mental challenges, some people may have the physical challenges, some people may have emotional challenges, some people have intellectual challenges that may come up in the form of various NCDs and various imbalances in the form of vyadhis. So you must know what is happening, and you must be able to overcome these things. And the solutions have been given for those things. That is where all these mental illnesses and physical illnesses are all coming up, even when you are going deep into the sadhana. So all the yoga teachers should recognize that when you go into deeper and deeper realms, then such challenges come, and there is nothing unusual about it. It is the standard thing that happens, and the dirt should come out, and you must learn how to deal with that. That's the important thing, and that's the one that Karma Yoga offers. And then you go to the higher level of consciousness, and you start moving towards the perfect thing. And such great masters existed, not only the epic characters in our country like Ramayana, Mahabharata and others, like Hanuman and others, but in our country, every state excelled with such great masters. We have Shankaracharya from Kerala, Sant Gnandev from Maharashtra, Swaminarayan from Gujarat, a large number of Siddhas from Tamil Nadu. And what to talk about the Madhya Pradesh, which large number of Hatha Yoga masters of the greatest renown. And if you go to Calcutta, you have Lahara Mahashaya, Yukteswar Giri and such masters. And on this side, in the Punjab area we have Guru Nanak. So our country brought again and again such great masters, and we have the Trinity from West Bengal spreading the word very well. Therefore, these are the four streams of yoga. All streams of yoga lead to the same goal. Earlier in our parampara, we said Jnana is the supreme, and we had karma, bhakti, and yoga are the three components to support Jnana. That is Shankaracharya Sadvaita. But Ramanuja said, yes, you may have all the knowledge unless you have the surrender, the process of ego reduction. So bhakti is the supreme. Then you may have Jnana and bhakti, but Madhvacharya said, no, unless you translate into action, you are not ultimate. So karma yoga he brought. So in the present context of the science and technology, the era where we are stuck with the materialistic pattern, the matter-based paradigm, it is time that Swami Vivekananda said all these streams of yoga can be called as yoga. Therefore he called Jnana as Jnana yoga, bhakti as bhakti yoga, and karma as karma yoga. But what about yoga? He called it as Raja yoga. So the four streams of yoga. He said all streams of yoga lead to the same goal. Same goal is the dimension of ultimate reality, the moksha. Therefore, the goal of life is to manifest. As teachers who are teaching yoga everywhere, we should not confine ourselves only for teaching the asanas, but you must bring in this holistic vision. Please go through the beautiful talk given by Honorable Prime Minister and imbibe them and see that you grow continuously. Day by day, they must do. It's a long journey. It's not that we learn for 1 month or 5 months or 1 year, 2 years as a master degree and beat it up. So Patanjali says it's a long journey to cleanse inside. Sato dirgha kala, nairantarya, satkara sevito dridabhumihi. So long time is so long, it may be years and years. It may be the whole life. It may be many lives. So continuity is very important. You must do the practice regularly. As teachers, I see, but many people forget about practicing. They become only teachers and teachers. So I request all of you as teachers to see that you practice regularly for yourself and spend more and more time and start living that dimension of yoga, the karma yoga. And that's what we all have to do. And it has a spread to everyone in the society. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given such a push that this holistic vision of yoga should come to every nook and corner. And last year, the target was 18 crores and the thing was done. And probably next year, we should cross 20 crores of people in India. And for the MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, he has said it should go into every nook and corner of the world. And almost every country has did that functioning of the International Day of Yoga this year. And next year, it will go further. So it is this push that he has given. And he said, not only it should be a function of a day, but it is going to our entire education system. Therefore, 5 years back itself, he told that all Ministry of Education should take up this thing. So the NCT trains 13.5 lakh teacher educators in our country. Yoga has been made compulsory. Then NCERT came forward and said, we have to bring this to the school education. And the UGC came forward, UG in the PG course and PhD should come up. All that has been set. And that's the beauty. Similarly, in the health scenario, we should not be just confine ourselves to the allopathic system. We have the great oil system. Allopathic system probably has come maybe 100 to 100 years back where it has taken the bigger role of mainstreaming. But before that, what was there? It was all the yoga, the Ayurveda, and our Ayush system, the 6 systems of healing that we had, that all had to be combined. So he has been emphasizing that we have to have the integrative health system. We have to have such a healthcare delivery system in which it should be very, very effective, with least side effects, with cost effectiveness brought forth, and long-term rehabilitation. Such a thing we are developing. Just the objective of the yoga, and yoga has a message for all. It should enter into all acts of life. Therefore, our university has 5 divisions. Division of yoga spirituality, to unearth this secret from our ancient scriptures and others, and all the 4 streams of yoga, unity in diversity and others, and application to all life sciences, including the health sciences, division of yoga and life sciences. Then application into management studies, how to bring the holistic systems into the management field, Division of Yoga on Management Study, and we have yoga for physical sciences, how to go beyond the physical, entering into the newer dimension. We have a wonderful project, low energy nuclear reaction, how to bring the fusion as a solution for bringing energy to the whole world, and how to go beyond the physical to establish the existence of consciousness. And this is the research that is going on. And finally, we have Division of Yoga and Humanities into all aspects of art, music, dance, sport, jurisprudence, everywhere it should go. These are the 5 divisions in which now our university, Vyasa University, is coming. And we have got the short-term courses, we have got the certificate course, diploma course, and then we have the UG and the PG courses, including PhD. So I invite all of you to join hands. And Swami Vivekananda had to go to United States to bring this wisdom back to India. Similarly, we said we have to have a university in the United States, and probably you know that we have set up this in Los Angeles, Vivekananda Yoga University, VAYU. And this is the 3rd batch that is joining January 18th. We're going to have this master degree program. It's a very easy and effective thing. United States excels in information technology. Therefore, the university is run through the online programs. So the online programs are all available, and the master degree is also a 30 credit online program, and you are welcome to join that. And only have to spend about 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours Sunday, but rest of the time is yours to study them and do. And in VAYU, we provide all the videos and the rewritten up material and PowerPoints and everything. And Saturday and Sunday, we have the interactive session, just like we have PCP in our distance education. So you are free to join this thing, which is starting on January 18th, 2022. So with that, we are starting everywhere, and many countries have come forward. Now, Japanese have come forward to start the yoga college in Japan, and they are planning to have an offshore campus of Vyasa in Japan. Similarly, in China, we have YMU University, Kunming University, and here we have started the master degree. And this year they are planning to have bachelor's degree, master degree, doctoral program in this thing. First time in China, they have been able to take up the name in India. Similarly, many other countries also are coming forward, and things are shaping. So you're all part of this big movement, and the whole essence of this yoga has to be brought forth in your life and spread this to a large number of students that you have. I'm so happy that my yoga teacher has been propagating this wonderfully well, and our Jitendra Gupta, the founder of this thing, and Kuldeep Kumar and all of you have been doing a wonderful job, and I congratulate all of you for this thing. And you can spread the word around and see that you bring more and more students to get authenticated through their academic degrees. That will make the system more authentic, more traditional. And our things is tradition plus modern science. Combine the best of the East with the best of the West. Modern scientific research is the essence. So world over, we know there are probably lakhs of yoga studios and yoga teachers, and we have to bring this authentication. And it's here that our Vyasa and VAYU are forging ahead. Those who want American degree, they can take from VAYU. Those who want from Indian degree, they can take from Vyasa. And in Prashanti Kuteram, I invite all of you to come at your time when you have. And we have got 400 bed facility where we treat all this ailment to show how we'll be able to reverse the disease effectively. People come in stretchers, so they go walking. People come in wheelchairs, they get running up the stairs. And such is the miracle that can happen through yoga dimension. With this, once again, I congratulate all of you and wish you all the best for the coming new year, with the Christmas coming up and the Christ bringing that love and affection to everybody, and the new year that it have a new dimension in all our lives. Thank you all very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Nagendra. It was really fantastic. Really loved it. There are a couple of questions, if you don't mind, that students have asked.
Yeah. Have they put it on the chat box?
Yeah, the first one is from Suhasini, which is about how does mental illness look like? How one can recognize it and even start working on correcting it?
Mental illness or various psychiatric challenges that we have. neuroticism. Then you had two categories, neuroticism and then psychotic. Psychosis is deeper and it has gone into the very structure. Neuroticism is more functional. Normally, when you go on anything, the speed of the mind, faster mind, then it starts going out of our control. I give a simple example. We had one of our one very brilliant engineer. He was first rank throughout his career. That is SSLC, then +2, then engineering first year, second year, third year. Then something happened to him. Then he could not concentrate, he could not remember things, and he got lost. And the worst thing happened in that examination, he got single-digit mark. It was a big shock to him. Psychiatrists started giving him sleeping pills and others. It is getting worse day by day. And it was then the Nimhans here in Bangalore, they sent them to Dr. Nagaratna. Thereby, he ended up in Prashanti Kutiram. In Prashanti Kutiram, we started treating him, understanding the root cause of this thing, and he started improving day by day. In 3 weeks, he completely got back. When he came, he was taking 12 tablets, and he was not able to remember anything. And he was going out. I asked him, "Oh dear, here from morning 5 o'clock up to night 10 o'clock, you have various practices. You got the asana, we got pranayama, kriyas, mudras, bandhas, and lectures, and cyclic meditation, Om meditation, bhajans, everything are there, dealing with all the 4 streams of yoga. Which is the one that helped you most?" I asked him. He was very, very brilliant. He said, "Sir, I understood my mind. That's the one that helped me." I said, "What do you mean by understanding the mind?" He said, "When I heard the talks and others, I understood. My mind was running like a supersonic jet fighter." He said, "Hey, what do you mean, supersonic jet fighter?" See, I will speak the first sentence. Before I speak the second sentence, there are 1,000 thoughts in my mind. So the second sentence I speak has no relation to the first. This is the major problem we understood. Then I started slowing down. Pranayama helped me, then asanas helped me, kriyas helped me, cyclic meditation, everything helped me day by day. From 1,000, he brought down to 500 to 150 and 10. And within 10 days, I was able to bring it down to only 2 thoughts. I started getting back my memory, getting back my logic, and started improving day by day. And then our Dr. Nagaratna, who is the medical director here, said you can reduce the number of tablets from 12, it reduced to 6, reduced to 3. I'm taking only 1 tablet when I'm going out. And I said, I hope you continue everything. Surely. And I'm sure that I'll be able to leave even single tablet. After 1 week, he called me and said, I have dropped this thing. I'm doing very well. And that year, the supplementary, he got 90% marks. And in the next year, he got back his first rank. And he went into the IT profession, and he is in the United States doing very well. So this is called neuroticism, uncontrolled speed of the mind. So the whole essence of yoga is to calm down the mind, silence the mind, tranquil the mind. For that, you must have the knowledge base of the Gnana Yoga. You must understand what is happening to you, the mechanism, and thereby you'll be able to bring it down. That is the thing that happens. There's one more thing. I'm thinking surrender and Sanskrit word, Sharanagati has different meaning. So essentially, basically it is same, that is reducing the ego. And Swami Vivekananda said, the surrender is a process of expansion. Sharanagati is a state when you have this surrender as a process. So gati is a sort of state in a sense. Therefore, when you start surrendering, you are in the bhakti bhava, in the sharanagati state. That's a slight subtle difference, but essentially it will deal with the ego and reduce it.
I want to really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Dr. Nagendra. It was beautiful to hear you speak, and so much knowledge and stories and insights. We're just lucky to have had the pleasure. Thank you so much, Guruji.
Thank you all.
Great.
Manish and Jitendra ji and all of you.
Thank you so much.
So nice to see all of you propagating yoga as teachers, yoga therapy teachers, and helping large number of people all over the country, all over the world. And I really feel very happy to meet all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
It was a pleasure to hear you. Thank you.